Hello, dear starshines. Christine here with Rise of the Multidimensional Human and Lightbody Academy. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. Today we have a special format going on because I decided it'd be a really great idea to bring in a starshine that I met as a special guest. So we're gonna be talking with a dear sister starshine named Angela Segraves. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm the acceleration expert, and we are here to talk about topics and issues that are significant for us wayshowers, star seeds, and new paradigm visionaries. We have gifts and abilities that are perhaps not embraced by our normal human family. Therefore, we have very different perspectives and experiences of our daily lives than the average Joe, let's say. So we're here to talk about that, and I'm here to give, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective on those daily challenges. So welcome. And I'm just going to wait a moment here and ask everybody who's joined on to say hi, let us know that you're here. And then I'm going to introduce our special guest, Angela Segraves. Hello, darlings. Hello. Let us know that you're here. Say hi. It takes a minute for the crew to get on. Now, there's lots of crazy stuff going on, but also amazing miracles happening. So I would love to hear from you guys the kinds of miracles that are going on in your life right now. I think it's very helpful for us to put, extra focus on the beauty that's coming into our lives that may be alongside some of the chaos, yeah? So if something amazing has happened in your life in the past week or so, please share it with us. We want to know about it. We want to celebrate that with our other brothers and sisters in this community. Hello, dear sister Heather. Good to see you. Joanne, darling, good to see you too. Hello, all. Polly and dear Hodai. Welcome back, darling. We've missed you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce our dear sister starshine, Angela Segraves. Let's see if I can just get her on the screen. There she is. There, her radiant smile. All right, so this is dear sister Angela. She is a soul guide, an Akashic Records practitioner, and a spiritual herbalist. Yes, you guys want to know her. All right. She works with women privately and in classes and in other kinds of group settings to help heal the past by connecting with Akashic Records, primarily with past life regressions. Angela guides women on a journey to get to the root cause, what's keeping them stuck. Doesn't that sound amazing, guys? She offers guided meditations and to meet plant and animal spirit guides and for connecting to your own divine soul. And if you guys want to read more about the magic and beauty she brings into the world, you can visit her website, angelasegraves.com. Welcome, Angela.
Thanks. It's great to be here. I'm so excited to, talk about topics that we have lined up. So
Cool. Yeah, so I just want to touch base with you, or just mention you guys, the reason why I have Angela here is because she is a wayshower, stepping into her wayshowership and being the, embracing those leadership qualities that come with being a starseed, that come with being a visionary. And I thought this should be amazing as far as, just sharing her journey and how she got to step in, decided to step into this full on and really invest herself in bringing that forward to the world. And Angela, so that's why I wanted her here, so you guys can connect with that, because all of you guys are leaders, all of you guys are visionaries. We may be a little hesitant to step into it, but once you do, I promise you will never regret it, and everybody you help will be so glad and grateful that you came into their lives. So here we are.
Totally, yes. And it's so important right now for all of us to step into that.
Absolutely.
Step into our divinity and our awareness. So yes.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so how we connected here, I'll just give a little backstory, guys, on how we connected. So dear sister Angela has this group that she coaches, and she wanted to talk about Dreamtime. And of course, we're in this similar community, and a mutual friend of ours was like, Christina, you need to answer her. And so we just had this conversation of she would really love to pick my brain about answering questions about Dreamtime, accessing Dreamtime, doing stuff like this. And in our, I don't know if you call it brainstorming session, I was just like, hey, just come on the chats and we'll put it all in the pot, stir it together and see what comes up. So we do have that intention of speaking about dreams and Dreamtime, and she has her questions that she wants to talk about, to bring to her people. So I think that's a good place for us to start, Angela. Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah.
So how about you frame up first your understanding and flavor of Dreamtime?
So I am a big believer of our dreams giving us information to help us in our daily lives. Because at night, our soul travels and not only nourishes us and revitalizes our energy, but it also gets information to help us with the hard questions, the easy questions in general. But I haven't done a lot of, I haven't had a lot of experience with how to get the information or how to understand what comes forward in that information from the dreams. And so what is a good way to, I've read a lot about incubating your dreams, where you can, journal and ask a question and ask your soul to please give you that information during your dream time. And, sometimes I feel like I get the information and sometimes I don't. And I didn't know do you have any suggestions about how to incubate your dreams and get answers to questions?
Sure. Okay, so that's kind of like a two-step process, isn't it? First, you have to remember your dream before you can process it with the mind or have an understanding come. Yeah. So, there's a few things. And I've also done some videos, I think there's somewhere on my website, about Dreamtime Recall. But so the trick about Dreamtime Recall is that in our conscious mind and our conscious daily world, we're in a different spectrum of brainwave frequencies. We're in the beta and the alpha brain frequencies. And in that way of thinking and perceiving, it's like we're in a very narrow bandwidth like this. But when we go into Dreamtime, we're exploring and going into more of delta theta frequencies, which is that expanded more of an infinite nature, and even going into gamma frequencies. And cognitively, those different states don't bridge. It's like they don't make sense. Like, if you ever try to explain a dream, in your dream, it was like a little tiny segment, but when you're trying to explain it linearly, it's like this big, long book that you're writing or talking about, right? So this is why it doesn't quite translate. But there is something I called building the Dreamtime bridge, where you practice bridging those two states of being. And so that's the first step, is bridging those two states of being so you can have a recall. Okay, so there's things like going into a light meditative state right before you go to bed. Okay, and so you're in your meditative state. Maybe you're reflecting on the day while you're in that state, or holding your question in your mind while you're in that state, and then you go to bed. And then when you wake up, you don't jump out of bed and hop onto your phone. You spend time dwelling in bed for a while you're still in that in-between state, and practice. Maybe there's a phrase that you can say, a trigger phrase. Some people have prayers that they say, like, you just go right back into whatever that habitual thing that you do to go into that meditative state while you're waking. You say that to yourself again. That's so you're flexible enough to go back into the meditative state, so you can be in both that dreamtime meditation. Okay, so there's that kind of practice. The other thing you want to do is proper energetic hygiene, because a lot of people, what are they doing? They're on their phone until they're so tired that they want to go to sleep, and then they put their phone down and they sleep with the phone next to the bed, right? It's like, no, EMF is extremely toxic to that state of being. They don't exist together. Blue light goes through the eyes, influences the brain waves, and that keeps us locked into that beta frequency. So you want to stay as far away from electronics before you go to bed and after you wake up, for at least a half hour, at least. I also enjoy doing a meditative bath with salts and connecting with plants and essences, and bringing the magic back into my world. After I go through the day, just revisit the embrace of Pachamama, Mother Earth, nature spirits like this, and come back home to that, and then go to bed. So the more we can make that bridge between the let's call it the linear and the magical, then easier it is. You start cultivating a very nice dreamtime bridge where it becomes very easy to recall your dreams, and and other things, because also dreamtime happens when you're awake too. People have had this in deep meditative experiences. They call them maybe visions, stuff like this. So this is a state of being that we all have access to without exception. It doesn't matter if you think you're psychic or not. We all have it. It's a natural human ability.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of recall, and then there's also okay. So recall, I can go on for hour on that, but that you guys get the gist. You practice good energetic hygiene, and you keep yourself give yourself transition time between the linear and the magical, so you can start practicing that transition. And if you resist it, that resistance is equal to what's holding you back from recalling your dream time. You see what I mean? The subconscious resistance. Yeah. So it's important to pay attention to that. If you're really in big resistance, then it's a good cue to you that there's something subconsciously resisting that's working against you and recalling. Okay. So there's that. Writing down dreams works for some people, but what I encourage everybody to do is doodle. Everybody who's in the academy knows about doodle, and we get astounding results from the doodle. So we have a nice spectrum of psychic intuitives and spectrum of people in this group. So some are very analytical, others are super in the artistic. So the doodle works for no matter what spectrum of personality type you are or ego driver type you are. And this is what it looks like. So you wake up out of a dream, and you say you're in the dream. You're like, oh, I need to remember this, and you really feel like you're going to remember it, but then you wake up and it's not there, right? But you have the feeling with you that you had in the dream, and it could be, oh, I'm going to remember this, right? That feeling of wanting to remember. So you start off. Here's a little doodle sheet, right? You start off with that feeling of, I'm going to remember this. And then that feeling has a movement, and you follow the feeling and just let whatever come forward as you go through the feeling, right? And you just keep doing an abstract doodle, going through the feeling states. It's like, that something there was important. And I'm just putting words to feelings, right? And then my pen is moving. And this doodle holds the energy of your dream. Okay. So then you can now maybe throughout your day, I don't know if you talk on the phone and doodle when you're talking on the phone, you can start coloring it in, you can start putting embellishments on it. You know what I mean? You're reconnecting with this. And every time you do, you're enhancing that bridge, and you're getting through that subconscious block of connection. And if you have a group of people to work with, you guys can track into the doodle. You guys can feel into the doodle. You'll get intuitive data sets to share with each other that will help you get you deeper into the dream. So there's that kind of thing. So that's all dream recall, right?
Yeah, I love that. That's a great suggestion.
So once you have your recall, what do you do with it, right? So here, I'm going to draw a little bit because this is going to help a lot. All right. So let me get to. So this is a teaching that comes from a Cherokee record keeper named Barbara Handclough. Those of you guys in the group know this drawing very, very well. Okay, this is the center of the earth. This is the telluric realm, the nature devas, crystal devas, the microbes, creepy crawlies, all the different energies that are in the earth that live beneath the crust of the earth. Then there's this 3D. All your angelic frequencies and higher self frequencies and all this cosmic one stuff that you are, that's all out here. And it all has to filter through this canopy, which is the canopy of who you think you are. Your belief systems, your truths, all this stuff that you think is part of your reality. And what happens is that all this higher self, all this bigger, this more infinite nature of you information comes in, and it instantly gets polarized in through your belief systems into good, bad, right, or wrong. So you could be asking a question that's really deep in your soul, like you really want to work out a deep wounding. The answer to that is going to be coming from these upper realms, passing through the wounding that's developed in your belief system. So you could end up having something like a nightmare. You could end up having like a really intense emotional experience in your dream. And we might categorize that as good or bad or right or wrong. right? So the trick is to get past the polarization, get past the good, bad, right or wrong perception, and recognize that something, you asked a question, you're going to absolutely get the answer. It's just a matter of you being in the place to receive the answer. It's just like going through the Akashic Records. You can't get the answer if you're not a frequency match for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing. So number one, settle on the reality that no matter what you ask, you will get answered. It's just a matter of you being available for the answer, for what that response is. So you set your intention, you ask your question, and you get a really crazy dream. So if you remember the dream and you can write it down, that is great. If you get a doodle like this and you have it like this, that's great. What's significant to get the bigger message is to unravel what is in the way of you really receiving the transmission, because the transmission you're going to get from your soul is more than just information. It's actually the solution, the energetic solution to what you're trying to resolve. Okay, so this is where ceremony can come in. Working with nature devas comes in. Essences, like you can muscle test or use pendulums or whatever to start narrowing this energy in. What in the universe around you can be a vehicle to pull the solution forward through this canopy, right? Because you want to get through the canopy of the mind of who you think you are. So your imagination is the limit when it comes to this. I mean, maybe you woke up with a single word and that word had a feeling. You can put on some music and dance through that energy, right? And then you'll know when you're making progress, because you'll have another dream. Another dream will come forward. It'll feel different. It'll have like a feeling that's similar, but something else is now there. And that's how you unravel. That's how you use the dream time to unravel your blocks to yourself. All right, now that's like a crash course into it. And it sounds really simple when I'm saying it, but the actual application, well, I'm sure you're aware. Yeah. Because we have a resistance to it, and as you know, subconscious resistance is strong. It's really strong. Right.
Well, just being consistent around the ritual or tuning into your own energetic hygiene and all that is huge, and that's not something we as humans, it takes practice. So we're not always consistent.
Yeah, it takes resolve and commitment. That's for sure. Absolutely. The ones that really get empowered, who are empowered on this level, are the ones that had been faced with diagnosis where it was a do or die situation. I'm either going to embrace this and do it, or I'm going to die. It's like I had to get to that extreme to bust past the barrier, So, but what's helpful, especially nowadays, is that we have each other, and when we have a community of people, that hold this kind of space. It's like a gift from heaven. We can really help support each other. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and when that information comes through in the dream time, do you find that the doodling has helped with just getting more information? Like you said, it shifts, or sometimes you get something completely different, or the energy is completely different.
So what I hear in what you're saying, there's another piece we need to have an understanding of, is that when the energetic shift happens and when the solution occurs, your mind is the last to know. And a lot of people want to understand first before they're ready to do the other part. And so with this, what I'm saying is that you need to do the other part, and then the understanding comes. Work the energy like that, and then once it's all digested and integrated, then that epiphany happens when you're doing dishes one day. It's like, oh, that's what I need to do. Oh, that's the perfect solution.
Right. As all your intuitive gifts come together, and you start receiving at all different, no matter what you're doing. So I love that.
Yeah.
I see we have a question from Rebecca. It says, I'd love to hear about a personal experience you've had with breaking through the barrier, Christina.
Okay. This particular barrier. Well, okay. Okay, so this all came online for me after I had my barrier breaking experience, because what happens is that we think we know who we are, and it's a lie, and it's really, it's very shocking to find that out. So once we do, there's like a recovery time that needs to happen, and then we start reintegrating ourselves. And this is part of why a lot of the younger star seeds are in a mode of really embracing plant medicines, because it helps push them through that shattering of who they think they are and reassemble as something else. I'm not saying it's not abuse, because there's a bit of abuse, especially in some of our in some circles, but in its essence, in its highest essence, it's a vehicle for breaking through. So for me, it was a near-death experience. So it kind of all right. So I had an almost death experience, and then I had the near-death experience, and the almost death experience is actually is the funner one. So I was called to go to work with this medicine man, and it was like the introductory of it. And I was just following my intuition. I drove with a friend up to Rhinebeck, New York, to Omega. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Omega Institute. Anyway, I go there. And it's an introductory to what he does, and we did some soul retrieval stuff. We did some stuff, but one night it's so clear you can see the Milky Way, and in the east, that's a rare thing. Skies aren't always so clear like that. And we found the darkest place we can find in the compound, in the middle of this field, so we can just lay down and watch the stars. And so we're, going on at the Milky Way, and there's it's funny. I was just thinking about that friend too, not too long ago. It turns out someone else was doing that too, but they were on a golf cart. They were in a golf cart with their date, driving like this. And my friend and I, it was a silent golf cart. You couldn't hear it. And we're just laying down like in bliss state. Then all of a sudden this force came, and we just quite literally flipped up. Like we did a backflip from laying flat on our backs. We're instantly on our feet, and the golf cart just in time to miss the golf cart running us over.
Oh, wow.
And of course the guy and the date was like pissed. and he got chewed out for the whole rest. Can you hear her yelling at him for, as they drove away? But they all freaked out. My friend and I, we just were like, what just happened? And it was like, because that event moved us beyond anything our ego driver or our consciousness was aware of. It's like our body was full on in a state that was so divorced from our conscious mind. It like woke us up to something like, whoa. And this is the funniest thing, we could not stop laughing. We were laughing and laughing and laughing, and it lasted the whole weekend. It was like we would start to calm down a little bit, maybe go to sleep, and then we'd start, and we'd be laughing all over again. It was like the most ecstatic state. So that event, we didn't even talk to people that almost killed us. It was just scream. They went their direction, and we were just in this like ecstatic state for days. And that was that was the introduction to breaking us through. It was having that experience so powerfully, something take over our reality, our bodies, that wasn't us, that wasn't who we thought we were, and just having that be manifested. Mm-hmm. That's how that happened. I'm sure other people in this group have stories like that too. It's like something just took over, and whoa,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. What a story. And did you find that your gifts came more vibrant after that experience? Your intuition, your psychic abilities, and your dreamtime state, whatnot?
Yeah, so that medicine man, that was the introductory, and I continued studying with him for another 12 years. And yeah, that actually working with him, eventually a near-death experience did manifest for me. So that was definitely a huge game changer in my world. And it's interesting because it wasn't just him. There was two medicine people came into my world. One was Barbara Handclough, who is a Cherokee record keeper that does the Alchemy of the Nine Dimensions, which is what I activate every time in the chats to facilitate opening. and the other one was Alberto. So I had an indigenous woman keeper and an indigenous man keeper, and they both were, I was working with both of them throughout that time. And it was time, and in this talk about Dreamtime, I would be in that meditative state calling out to my teacher. Like I felt like I really needed a teacher, and it was time, and it all just, manifested like that. So, but do realize, guys, especially empaths, this is so true with empaths, is that we grow up in a really sick society, and we're taught to make ourselves wrong from a very young age. So even if we think that we're not intuitive or we're not accurate or all these things, it's like that is the programming that binds us. Our natural state is to be in connection. Our natural state is, and once we can let go of those barriers, it's like you'd be surprised how psychic intuitive you are. You can, like my husband and I, he's a very normal guy. I think I'm normal too, but he's a very normal guy. But I'll have a thought and he'll just start talking about that thought. I didn't say it. I just had the thought, and boom, he's on the beat, So it's like that. We just need to relax and let ourselves just flow with our authentic nature. There it is. It's when we wear our ego driver and go with that language instead. That's where we go wrong. That's where we feel like we're in error. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hopefully that was a helpful response.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's a great example of so many different things that, as people are awakening, they're having these experiences but don't really know what to make of it, or how to go to the next step, or any of it, because it doesn't make sense. And we didn't necessarily grow up with parents or grandparents who knew how to guide us on that part of the journey. So it's, I love that example. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah. Well, I think this is where the work that you do about healing the past is so right on, because, the past that's not healed, that's left with loose ends, we're going to repeat and do it again.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely see that a lot, in my own life and in my practice with clients too, that we deal with something, whether it's money issues or relationship or health or whatever, and you feel like you've just done so much healing, but it's just a layer, and really giving you more information about how to move on in the next step. Mm-hmm. And it's so, it's important to recognize that, yes, there is a next step, and how do I evolve and grow from this? And so that's, I'll have people call me. It's like, why am I going through this again? It's like, well, because you're ready for the next level of really surrendering. And that's the hard piece that a lot of people have. You find that too?
Oh, yeah.
The surrender.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of people are confused about the difference between surrendering and giving up. That's been a little twisted. Mm-hmm. There's something else. So do you have a favorite method of going into the Akasha or going into the past to bring something full circle?
For me personally, what has worked, well, I do it a couple ways, and I think it depends on my energy of the day. So sometimes I just envision that I'm in an elevator and I press up and I go into that realm. And that honestly was one of the first ways I learned to access the fifth dimension or the Akashic Records or, spiritual information, because I was taking a shamanic course and I couldn't visualize, climbing a tree or climbing a rainbow, or, I couldn't visualize how to get to the upper world. Right. And so my teacher, my mentor was like, Well, I'm getting the suggestion you should do an elevator. So that's one way that I have done it in the past, and that's a way that helps some of my clients too. More often than not, I find that I access the records by envisioning walking in nature along a path, and I walk into a grove of trees through a door,
Mm-hmm.
and with the intention of going into the Akashic Records.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Retrieving information. But even in my client sessions, I find that a lot of them are very different, and I'm just receiving guidance of what works best for them. So sometimes they're on the beach going in a cave. Sometimes they're
Okay.
so,
So it sounds like a style of journeying is your preferred mode to access those frequencies.
yes, yeah, going into a meditative state for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I mean, that's effective because you could do it on your own, or you can help facilitate other people. I think a lot of people find that helpful because it gives them a container, like it gives them a sense of how to move forward into that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't have to look like you sitting cross-legged on a floor meditating, because that doesn't work for everybody, as
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you know and your listeners know. Sometimes the best meditation is when I'm vacuuming or
Yeah.
doing the dishes, or sometimes I get the best answers when I'm driving on the interstate.
Yeah.
I'm not really in a meditative state, but it's interesting the information that comes forward when I'm driving that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting. And that seems to me more like that incubating my dreams than sitting cross-legged and figuring something out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's 'cause we're relaxed, we're in our routine, and then we're open to what our subconscious has to bring forward. So let me ask you a question. So I want to talk about you stepping into your wayshowership and your style.
Okay.
How did you discover your style? Was that just an evolution in your own growth, or did you realize that you had a style one day, or how did that happen?
Yeah, it was an evolution, and it came through just learning lots of different modalities and talking to different mentors about some of the challenges I was having in life. Because I started off with channeling, but for me, channeling wasn't easy in the beginning, especially. But then, as I started to, honestly, when I started to learn the Akashic Records, is when my intuition really came full on. In a deeper way, and things just made sense a little bit more. And I guess because I could access that realm and see, I don't call myself clairvoyant, but to see or feel that information in a way that didn't make sense when I was learning other things.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, all the things that I learned did evolve into the things that I teach today or do with clients, which usually involves some kind of meditation or a guided journey to help them find healing. And it really has come down to feeling in your body too.
Yeah.
And that's been huge as I've moved forward. Noticing what my body is telling me, and then pinpointing what it's related to, and what do I need to do for it to be released and healed, or whatever needs to happen.
Yes. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is a huge point. And I think this is why the healing journey is so transformative for people, because that's where the rubber meets the road as far as discovering what is the actual truth versus the truth you're telling yourself. Because your body's going to respond and show you what truly is happening versus, what the mind wants to think.
Yeah. Well, and I
Yeah.
always, you hear people talk about embodiment, and I'm just like, and at least in the past, I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What you're saying doesn't even make sense. And, but then finally, when I got my own guidance about feel your body, that's when things started to click a little bit more on my own journey. So, I don't know what happened to Christina. But certainly the tuning into my body has been a huge thing. Are you there?
I'm there.
I was like, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to keep talking.
Surprise!
Right.
Oh, we have dear Facebook user says, I get many interesting insights while driving. Yeah. Thank you for that. And if you want us to know your name in our stream, if you're on Facebook, if you click on the See More button at the very bottom, there's a StreamYard link to click on and give StreamYard permission for us to see your name if you want us to call you out by name. All right. Yeah. So I popped out real quick when you were talking about where that recognition of what deeper embodiment actually meant for you, what that was.
Yeah. Well, just tuning into my body a little bit more. And, I think I went through a phase of, gosh, why does my hip always hurt? Or, why is my knee hurting? And, like most people going to the doctor and expecting this magic pill or this great exercise or chiropractic adjustment to just fix it all. Mm-hmm. And really, when I just started sitting with my body and asking it why whatever was going on, and then I started to notice how things were healing a whole lot quicker.
Yeah.
And my insights became much more insightful, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Information. And, and there's still things to work on, right? When things aren't happening the way I think they should, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like right now, my thyroid labs are in a weird place. And it's like, oh, well, how in tune have I been to my body? I haven't. I've been ignoring it. So okay. I love how the body is giving us information and how when we connect our soul and our body, wow, just the information that comes through is so powerful.
Yeah. And for me, I noticed that, that was the vehicle for me to recognize just how multidimensional my body is. Like you mentioned, the thyroid thing. My grandmother had hypothyroid, and I realized that was like something that was in all the women in my family. And as I got older, I started to wonder, like, wow, I wonder if I have that, and then I recognized that what was my body was showing me was that I was in a different momentum tunnel than what the other women in my family. And then by me actually paying attention to completely cleaning this up till it feels like it's optimal or, at its full state, then the other women in my family would start to heal their hypothyroid. It's like they would just spontaneously have the thought and go do something different than what they've been doing. It wouldn't even be a conversation between us. Like I'm saying, you should really you should be doing this and that, no. This was like a spontaneous thing that arose from within them to make a different choice. Yeah. So our bodies are super dynamic, and everything that we do within our physical form impacts our children, our grandchildren, our moms, our dads, our grandparents, our cousins, so it really adds so much richness to the journey for me. And anyway, I'm like, yeah.
I agree. I think it's amazing what ancestral healing does. And I notice it too. Just when I do healing with my ancestors, then the next day I completely see a different attitude in my own daughter.
Yes.
So amazing. And I think it's so great when people acknowledge that and recognize that our ancestors are just here trying to help us. And so people are always amazed when their ancestors show up in their Akashic records. And I'm like, Of course they are, because they're part of you, and you've had all these lifetimes together, and they want you to heal. They want you to move forward because they don't want you to hold on to their stuff, their karma. So it's just awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful feedback loop to notice a behavioral change in your daughter instantly. That's super cool. I love those feedback loops because when they happen so instantly, that's like an indication of the clarity within oneself, versus like something will happen and maybe several weeks will go by before you notice the feedback loop. Then, that's, more of an indication of there's more distortions, distractions, or whatever happening in your conscious mind that keep you from seeing what's, the response. Yeah. Oh, here, this dear sister Hodai is saying, lately I've been waking out of dreams, laughing. They've been so fun, although I can't remember the details. The message is to remember to find the joy, to honor the joy in the simple things. Isn't that the truth? Especially nowadays, because things are so challenging the way they are, right? It's like we need to really make space and time for those joys to be acknowledged, appreciated, celebrated. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go on to some other questions if you're down for it.
Sure.
Okay, so now we get to dive into the questions of our community here. So for those of you who aren't already aware, if you want to contribute into the conversations that we have at the chats, oh my gosh, time is just flying by. There's two ways to get involved. One is if you're on Facebook, you do the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group. You do need to answer all those questions to become a member. So don't graze over that. You answer the questions or you're not going to get admitted. That's just how it is. You're not willing to invest a second for us to get to know you, then why do we want to invest in you? You see what I'm saying? It's a give, it's an exchange kind of thing. You let us get to know you, and then you're going to be welcomed in to get to know us. And then, it just sets the tone for the community. And everybody in the community really respects each other, even though we are not of the same mind. And many of us have very different views about the things going on, but what we all agree on is our humanity is most important. It's most important that our humanity prevails amongst these dividing times. So that's the Rise of the Multidimensional Human group. And then the second way to get involved is the Telegram group called Multidimensional Human. So the questions I have several come from both those groups. I'll start off with Carol. Carol says, my daughter asked me this question. We humans have awakened. And she means when the ones that are going to awaken have awakened. Will the school system change? She is not a fan of our current one. Neither am I. And then that got me thinking, will the other systems crumble? Like what's going to happen to the other structures that aren't aligned with what the truth of our awakening is, right? What will happen to it all? Not everybody will awaken. So will systems stay in place? What do you think, Angela?
I think there's a lot of aspects to that.
I know. We'll pick the one that really jumps out to you.
I think as more humanity awakens, and the more we are listening to ourselves and listening to our heart, connecting to our soul, and feeling less judgment and more love, then our systems are going to change. And we won't feel the need to control each other. And there won't be any need for judgment, because those who want to judge, they're not going to feel comfortable doing it. And they're going to just be faced with receiving unconditional love. And so I think our systems are going to totally change. Is it going to happen quickly? I don't know about that. Mm-hmm. Probably not the way we want it to, but that's us trying to control it, right? So I feel like as we start really showing that compassion and love for more people, then they see it. As we do we all know, as we do our own healing, it ripples out. And, we've seen it. We've all seen it firsthand. As we shift, then those around us shift.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And the personal experience that comes to me is something that at the time she was 12 years old, my 12-year-old daughter schooled me, folks. So this is how it went down. All right. So, well, let me step back for a second. What you're talking about, Angela, what I hear you saying is about that collective frequency. It's like the more of us that are awakened are being authentically in ourselves, that has an impact on the collective. And it won't be easy to judge. It won't be easy to be in these momentums of the past that we're in. And this is where that story of my daughter comes in. Her name's Alexandra. She was 12 years old. And I was pissed. I was so mad. I don't know if you ever had 12-year-old daughters, but I had two.
2 more years.
Yeah. Oh, well, look out. Yeah, right. So, and they're my kids, so they're really strong in their personality too, so it wasn't just, anyway, I was really upset about something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember how that whole thing went down. It was just like, she was just in a zone, and she was in her body. She was not in reaction mode. She came home from something, and I kind of was like, well, da 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 da, and then I just like went into it because I was just like really upset, and I'm like, blah 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 blah, and she like didn't react. She was like behind her eyes in her heart space, and she just watched me and held space for me while I was like in my freak out, I'm pissed mom mode, She's 22 now, so but at the time I was so upset, and when I got done, I was expecting a fight, the I hate you, what kids do, but that's not at all what she did. She was like so contained in her energy in non-reaction mode. When I was done, it was just done. And I was like, whoa. So it's like there's something really powerful about a person staying present while things are happening, and that wakes people up out of the ridiculousness that they're in, whatever it may be. It's very real, and it's actually super simple. It's not really about getting involved in the fight at all. It's just staying in your truth and not engaged with the game, the tit for tat game, and there's the opportunity right there. Boom. And when that happens over and over and over again, because people don't want to be toxic, they don't want to be judgmental, they just don't know another way. A lot of people, so this opens the door for that other way to reveal itself. Yeah. So so the systems will change over time, because what will work is going to be obvious that it works, and what doesn't work will be obvious that it doesn't work. That's how I feel about it. So those of us who are like, so my youngest child, I took her out of school to home for online schooling and stuff like this because it was so toxic. That worked for her, that really. And more parents, especially now with the shenanigans going on, they're doing that. They're pulling their kids out of school. They're getting together with other neighbors. They're getting together with other family and figuring out how can we make an education work for our kid, because we can't put them in this situation anymore. So the more people that do that and really reclaim their responsibility for their kids' education or their kids' wellness, and not just go with the program because that's all the only option you have, then we're going to start developing these systems that really do work, and it will be obvious. In my opinion, I think it will be obvious.
Yes. Yeah.
I
think we're seeing that a little bit at a time too, so that's helpful.
Yeah. Especially with the medical tyranny going on, I think people are really being reawoke to the reality that people have been curing themselves of incurable diseases for decades. Decades. It's not a new technology. It's something that's been around for a long, long time.
Totally.
And they're realizing, why didn't I know about that? How come it was, they're waking up out of it. All right, Carol, I hope that was helpful. Let us know, darling. All right, this is Rini. So she says, okay, here I go. A few questions, LOL. Oh, okay. She has quite a few questions. Let's go here. All right. So if Earth is not round, then we are in a plane. Would that be an easy shift to dimensions? If the Earth is not round. Okay. Well, all right. So that's taking two paradigms that don't go together. I'm trying to put them together. What do you think?
So my mind has a hard time with the flat Earth paradigm because we see the pictures of the Earth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know if I can answer that because I haven't sat with it, and it's something that has come into my awareness only in the past year or two,
Okay.
and I'm even considering that the Earth is not round.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to pass it back to you.
Okay. Sure. Well, I've had a little bit more exposure to this. So it's a matter of trying to explain Dreamtime in linear terms. It just doesn't work, for me. So I watched this video and I posted in the group. This was several years ago, and it was the best description I have ever heard of the interdimensional ripple effect. Okay, and this is the interdimensional ripple effect of our healing, of our shifting, of our, navigating timelines, all this stuff. It was like the best video I've ever heard. And I think their sister Joanne was one that posted it. And I posted it, and then I got all this really negative feedback, people saying, "Oh, you're a flat earther." And I had no idea it was a flat earth video. They didn't say anything about flat earth. I was just like, wow, that's flat earth? Like, wait a minute. It didn't register because I was really consumed by that perspective of the ripple effect. So to me, it's not about, we think flat earth, like physically things are flat, therefore there's certain rules about that reality that make it so. And I feel like that's a complete misqualification. That's like, having a big rhino come into your dream and sit down and you trying to understand the message through what rhinos are. You know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't work. There's something else going on. Just that rhino is simply your subconscious translation to the energy being presented, so it just doesn't match. So for me, this reality is not what we think it is. And I've said this many times over. We are not who we think we are. None of this is what we think it is. And it's hard to fathom that because, on some level, we're like, oh, yeah, sure, there's other parts of who we are. But there's still baseline rules that we live by that aren't the truth. Baseline rules. So a long time ago, I don't know, it was 2006, I ended up doing an expedition down to the Amazon jungle in Peru. And I worked with a medicine man who was this profound being. He started off coming into my dreams, and then he would manifest in the backseat of my car. I'd be driving and I'd see him in the rearview mirror, or, I'd wake up out of a dream state and he'd be standing in my room. This guy was like really, really, really awakened being. But when I actually worked with him in person, there was one night where I was just like, I wasn't going to engage with any of the medicines that they were doing. There was tobacco, there's all sorts. And I was like, I just want to be completely in my own center as who I think I am and experience what this is about. And I kid you not, he would be in like 3 places at one time. There's times when I would look over and he would have a wolf head. Another time he would be smoking a pipe and lava was pouring out. And at the end of the ceremony, I would look up and the stars would actually change in the sky. And I know that was my response, like, wow. And I'm like completely dumbfounded, like, how is this possible? How is this happening before me? And the short answer is that reality is not what we think we are. But on another level, when you are really stepping into who you are as an infinite being, you can recognize that fire, I am. Wolf, I am. Forests, I am. Stars, I am. And that is a totally different reality. That means every intent, every thought, every movement of action that you take, you're all of that in motion. So that means the stars are moving in your intent and motion. The trees are moving in your intent and motion. You know what I mean? It's like the universe is moving with your intent and motion. I know this is a magical story, but this is a real thing. That's really what reality is. So flat Earth versus globe, that's a moot conversation because you're talking about 2 completely different paradigms of reality that don't match. You know what I mean? They just don't belong together.
Mhm.
That's how I feel it anyway. And it also liberates people from needing to make other people wrong. Flat earthers, why is it okay to call them stupid and think they're idiots? Round earthers, why is it okay to criticize how they think? You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
you both are acting equally stupid towards each other. Please rise to your humanity. Recognize that this person is having a completely different experience than you, and there's something valuable perhaps about that. The deepest wisdom keepers that I've been exposed to, that's not just one person in charge, it's a council of people. And you don't want a council of people who all think the same way. You want a council of people who are different as possible in their perspective and in their beliefs.
Totally.
So you can, yes, right? So you can truly get the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Reality is so infinite. You need that bigger picture. All right. That was a great question. That was a really awesome question, Rini. Next, what dimensions do these come from? Galactic, angelics, and shamanics. Okay. I'm going to say all of them.
Yeah.
Okay. You can.
I agree. Yeah. Good. Well, and especially since everything's existing at once, right? On different timelines and different dimensions. So
it's all together, many, many nesting dolls together create that kind of reality.
Totally.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so this is a symptom of linear thinking, though. We when we think linearly, that means because something is like this, that means it can't also be like this. You know what I mean? But what if it's both? What if it's not only this, but it's also this, and it's this, and it's this? This is the kind of stuff that is connecting with your dream time opens you up to have, not to completely lose your cognitive state when you're trying to contemplate these abstract pieces. All right, 3, what exactly are alternate timelines? What do you think? Do you want to tackle this one first?
What exactly? Well, exactly is relative, isn't it?
Yes.
So, I feel like there's different dimensions that we exist in. I met a lady once and she's like, I am living 23 different timelines at once. And it blew me away because it was something I'd never really considered. And so, I think there are not only dimensions, but our soul wants to learn so much, right? And our souls travel to all these different places, universes, dimensions, galaxies. And so, I think there's definitely timelines that we are living in parallel places, having different experiences. And I also feel that those experiences impact this incarnation on Earth right now. Because our soul is evolving and learning and wants to experience new things. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, cool. Well, I think there's a lot of people who are going to concur with that. So let me get into, it depends on perception. Like, for example, that woman that says she's living 23 different timelines. That means from the human experience looking, let's say, up in dimensional reality, that's what cognitively, she's aware of that. Okay. But when you are looking from the outer nesting doll of you as a galactic being down into the inner nesting dolls, it's all happening simultaneously. Okay. So they're both true. It's just a perspective. So it's cool. She's totally aware of those 23. But on another level, she's having an infinite number.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a reason why those 23 are in their awareness. And this is, I think, what you're talking about is that because those 23 are having an impact in our here and now. And it's likely that those 23 are in existence because there's choice points in this particular life stream that created those alternate timelines. So alternate is a tricky word because what do you mean by alternate? It could be, there's the synthetic timelines versus organic timelines. And I know this is total limitation in language here, but this is the best that we have. For example, a synthetic timeline would be a choice point brought to you that was based on lies. Like say you've been lied to, you grew up being lied to about who you are and where you're from and your purpose and all this stuff, and you're buying the program. So when you come to a choice point, you're choosing to buy into the lie versus go into the unknown, or whatever that other choices are. Now maybe that other choice was really the truth of your being, a timeline that is you stepping into the truth of your being, but instead in that choice point, you decided to keep going with the program, keep going with what's not true, not knowing that that's true. That's what I would call an alternate timeline. It's one that wouldn't be there unless those lies were being implanted. Okay. There's, but your soul is always calling you home. There's always a whisper. The problem is that making the choice in that direction is very often framed up in a way that's terrifying. It's framed up in a way where you feel like you have to give up everything in your life to go in that direction. Okay, so this is why the more we do our ancestral clearing, the more we work with our dream time, the more we step into these pieces of who we are, the less attached we are to what the lie is telling us, and the more in resonance we are with that deep inner voice. And so that choice doesn't become one that's going to end your life as you knew it. It's going to be something that feels like you're stepping closer to yourself versus making a choice against yourself. So, that's what I would have to say about that. And I know there's all kinds of technology pieces to address and all that, but I don't want to make it too complicated because not everybody's ready to hear about that part. And dear Sister Lavana, with your questions about the nanite technology, I think that we're going to need to get into that a little bit later. Maybe in the next chats, or maybe I could do a short video clip, because I do want to talk about that, because nanite technology is really, it's here, it's being applied even in our medicines. Like you guys have seen, like the CBDs, the nano, it's like, and what that means is not that it's nano in the sense of technology, it's nano in that they're refined it to the smallest microscopic measure that they possibly can. So nano doesn't necessarily mean technology. It means a very small measurement, quantum. But there is stuff like Morgellons and weaponized limes, and there's all that stuff. And I do want to talk about that, because I think there's a lot of people who are impacted by that, especially now, because people are waking up to different particles, especially the graphene oxide has been introduced to the conversation, and it has been officially acknowledged via different mainstream media outlets. So I do want to talk about that, but we're going to need to start wrapping up here, because we only have Angela for a certain amount of time. I told her an hour, or we agreed on an hour. And also I have another appointment that I need to get to. So let's end with this. Okay. And Renee, I will get to the rest of these questions too, because they're all really great questions. Here, this is going to be a choice. You decide. This is like pick door A, B, or C, Angela.
Okay.
Okay. Door A is, how are humans trapped here? Door B, do humans need planets? And door C, transcending the matrix.
Oh my.
Yeah, see, the people here are really are.
I love it. So A, how humans are trapped here.
Okay.
Right? Is that what the question was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we came here for a reason, to have an experience. And yeah, some people consider it being trapped, but our soul has a mission, right? It wants to experience being human on this planet at this time. I don't know if I'm understanding what she means by trapped.
Okay. Well, I could fill in the gaps on that. Okay, it's because number one, our religions, our belief systems have been hijacked, and there are existences in the afterworlds that are totally based on belief systems and aren't the truth. For example, the idea of heaven and hell. The hell realm was actually invented, and then the system used terror and fear and sorcery to actually banish people and create this fourth dimensional place called the hell realm. Yeah. and this is where the Book of the Dead of the Tibetan Book of Dead come in, where they actually taught how to navigate the pitfalls in the afterlife so you can truly make it to the true light, versus the idea of maybe purgatory or the idea of going through the pearly gates, stuff like this. So there's people that are aware of this hijacking, and they consider that being unfair and also a mechanism that traps a soul in a particular way.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's a tough one to unravel.
It is, because we do deal with these belief systems, right? And a lot of that is ancestral work also, because our ancestors started believing in that. I don't think they always believed in it. And I think in our soul's beginnings, we knew what it was like to be unconditionally loved and to give that love. And we didn't think that it was going to be a trap to come to Earth. That we were going to be trapped here. My soul relishes this moment, even though it's hard, and sometimes I do feel like my leg is stuck in a bear trap. But ultimately, at my soul level, I know that I'm not. And I know that I have stepped beyond the belief systems of how I can choose to be controlled or not. And that's the real trap, right? Are we allowing ourselves to be controlled, or are we connecting with our own divinity to move beyond that that feeling or that experience? And what is it we want to really experience in that aspect?
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, what I hear you saying is that there's soul choice still happening here, and it's just a matter of being in connection with the truth of what that might be.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's probably the simple. Yeah, definitely the more succinct answer to that. I think what's happened is that because people don't know what reality really is, it's not what they think they are. When there's things that they believe to be so, and then find out that it's not, that it's really terrifying, and it makes them kind of like resonate with the victimhood that them and their ancestry have experienced, and therefore that gets a lot of emotional charge. When we recognize that, dying consciously is a real thing, and that when we're aware in that moment, then that's really all that's required to making the choice. Alberto used to talk about the mannequins that when you die, there's a lot of so we used to do death rites as part of the training that we would do, and one of those pieces of the death rites is to clarify someone's energy field, so they are no longer ridden by deep guilt and shame and regret, so when they pass, they can pass cleanly. And this is what I hear what you're talking about, is that this belief system that keeps us anchored in a way where we actually don't come home to ourselves afterwards. That's what this is. This is unresolved trauma, unresolved issues. This is why ancestral healing is such a big thing, because this has happened to our ancestors. We clean it up, we liberate them on that level, we liberate ourselves on that level, and our children. So the fact that we are here and we're aware, all of those trappings that have been put in place in our subconscious, we can pop them off like that. We can clean them up. And so now, just having this conversation, people being realizing that being conscious when they die is a thing that can change all that for them personally, then, now your subconscious has it. It's there. It's not going to go anywhere. We are here at this time in this planet to make that shift. We're here for the shift. We're not here to continue the programming. This is how I feel. So so all those trappings are, they only work when we don't know they're there, or we don't know that we believe in them, or we don't know that we're contributing to the anchor of them. As soon as we wake up to that and how we're doing it, and we make different choices, then it's no longer an issue. We're not blindly giving our power away to it. We're not controlled by it anymore. We're infinite beings, and we're so powerful. And I mean, those in us group, in our group, and Angela, I'm sure the ones that are drawn to work with you have some kind of calling inside of them to wake up to who they're, right? To wake up to who they really are. And the reason why is because we're here for this. We're born for this. And with that, we're given everything that we need to achieve what it is we want to achieve. Wake up out of what we want to wake up out of. This is a deep, deep, deep truth, I feel. And I'll wrap up my response with this. There's the masculine and the feminine ways of doing things. And right now, humanity has been really in favor of the masculine way of doing things, thinking that it's better because it's clear cut, it's black and white. There's like a system. And what we're waking up to is we're waking up to the mother, to the divine mother, to the great mother, the creation, the birthing of this all. And what's different about that is, number one, we were never kicked out of the Garden of Eden. We were never cursed to reap only thistles and thorns from the earth. We're actually here to be born to the mother. And what she does is that her agreement to facilitate what our soul's agreement is that she gives us everything we need to walk that path and equip us for that journey. And it's our birthright.
For sure.
It's not because we deserved it and because we did A and B. It's because we're here. And we said yes, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Yes. And it's a beautiful thing, to have that experience and to come back to that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how our soul began. That's, connection with the mother. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In the 9-dimensional model, I don't know if you're familiar with it. The outer nesting doll is the mother of God, right? What we call the mother of God. Of course, I'm not talking about religion stuff. I'm just saying that there's more to our existence than just the all that is. Mm-hmm. All right. So we're going to, we totally need to start wrapping up. Angela, it was so awesome to have you here and share a conversation.
I loved it. Thanks for having me and for all your insights and all the people who joined in. It was so great.
Yeah, absolutely. You totally fit. You're one of the crew. You're totally a starshine. And I love that you came on with me and had this conversation. Dear sisters that put in your information or these questions, like I said, I'm gonna come back to them. For those of you who want to learn more about Angela and her work, it's angelasegraves.com. And if you want to dive more into the 9 dimensions that I mentioned, I've teamed up with Pari Patri, who is the founder of the Pyramid Spiritual Society Global Academy. We're doing a free 4-week training on the alchemy, on the introduction to the 9 dimensions, how to open those lenses, how to activate them. And this is totally for free. The vision of Barbara is that this is open source code. This is for everybody. It's not just for those who are initiated or those that are like this way or that way. It's for the entire planet to wake up to. And that was part of her dream. So we're stepping forward in that through the Global Academy to just proliferate those teachings to awaken and empower everybody. So I will post the link to that after we get off here. And let's see if there's anything else. Quantum Reality Shift is starting soon. So if you haven't signed up, I encourage you guys to check that out, lightbodyacademy.com. The next 101 is the second Tuesday in October. So that is a paid program, and you guys are welcome to check that out. Angela, anything else you would like to say in closing?
No, I'm just honored to be here and to have this fun conversation, and I guess if anybody wants to dive into the Akashic Records, I do private sessions. I have an 8-month group program where I do we do different healings and we develop your intuition and help you connect more with your own divinity. So those are the things that I have going right now too.
Awesome. Sounds beautiful. Cool. All right, darlings. Thank you everybody for being here, for being amazing and being a part of the conversation. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day.